PrepsPod.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Big Country Preps Wednesday night podcast, our weekly look at the area athletic scene, what happened last week, and what's going on this week. I'm here with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we've got a very special guest. Wylie girls basketball coach Duane Hopper will be joining us.
Yeah, we're going to take a brief break from the high school football playoffs to talk to a guy that we've talked to a lot. Duane may lead all area coaches for Big Country Preps podcast appearances, but it's because he's done such a great job, and it's going to be fun to talk to him today. He's got Wylie playing much better this year. They've won 6 of their last 7 to improve to 8-5. A lot of close losses to good teams among those 5 losses. I'm excited to talk to Duane about what he's doing at Wylie, what he's building there, and just the improvement they're making. And kind of what's going forward. They start district next week. They get a large district, and they're jumping right into it. So it should be fun to talk to him about what's going on over there. And as it always is, I always enjoy having Duane on.
All right, before we get going, we want to thank a couple of our sponsors, beginning with For the Love of the Game Broadcasting and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner at K-Lakes 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, 97.7 FM KATX out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, KWKQ 94.7 FM out of Graham, KROO 1430 out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is For the Love of the Game Broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a vehicle, new or used, give Rob a shout. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. Call him at 254-559-2266. That's Rob Durham up at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge. All right, and before we bring Coach on, we want to remind you YouTubers to please hit the subscribe button. Also, after that, hit the little bell that pops up, and then you'll get notifications every time that Big Country Preps publishes a new podcast. So please hit that subscribe button, and we appreciate it.
And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the show. We're kind of in that weird limbo area where we're finishing up the football season, have 2 11-man teams left, and you and I will both be active covering. You'll be in Lubbock covering Albany this week. I'll be in Frisco, driving to the Metroplex to cover Brock. But while we've got football going on, basketball's in full swing now too. We mentioned that Wylie's starting district next week. A lot of our districts that are the larger districts will be starting district before the Christmas holiday. So we're gonna be talking some basketball today. This is that like I said, kind of that weird tweener time right around the holidays where you got some tournaments where you got football and basketball overlapping. And I think it's always fun. It's a fun time. You got it. It's so busy with football. You got basketball going, so it's gonna be fun to talk to Duane today about what he's got going over at Wylie.
Absolutely, and it looks like he has jumped into the ready room here at Zoom. So you ready to talk to him?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get him on and talk some Lady Bulldogs basketball.
And joining us now, Wylie girls basketball coach Duane Hopper. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Coach. You guys are on a hot streak. You've won 6 out of your last 7. You're playing really well. Talk to us about the keys to that success.
And yeah, it's been fun getting going at the right time. We're starting district next week. I think we just gotten over the hump of winning close games. We've been in every game we've played except one. And so in those first few, Jim Ned, Wall, Estacado, we were on the winning side until the fourth quarter, and then a few possessions, then we ended up losing. And so now here we've been in those same games, but now we've been on the different side of it, making the right plays, making free throws, making shots, and won those. And so I don't think it's a different team. I just think it's a different mentality. Confidence comes with those wins. And so just getting the girls playing, believing in themselves, believing in each other.
And you mentioned close games, 4 of your 5 losses by 4 points or less, all to good teams, as you mentioned. Just how much do you think maybe the experience of being in those tight situations late and not coming out on the top kind of helped you as you were able to kind of, change that outcome in the close games that you're able to win? How much do you think that experience played a role in that?
I think it's huge. We have some girls that are coming back from last year who played in some close games, and then we have a lot of new faces who haven't played in those games. And there's no experience like game time experience. You can try to recreate it in practice, but there's nothing like with the game on the line and you're down 2 or you're up 2 or it's a tied game. And so being in those situations and has really helped me as a coach and has really helped our girls. They like, hey, it might feel like it's pressure, but it's really not. And so coming to district and now forward, like we talk about playing green and just having the mentality of like, If you're down 20, you're up 20, it's a tie game, and you just got to play with confidence, right? And just freedom. Right? You can't worry. It can't be such a tense situation. Basketball's supposed to be fun.
Coach, you guys are playing really well defensively. Can you talk a little bit about that? Walk us through the process that you went through to get the girls to this point.
And it started in the summer and even last season of just buying into playing defense. And sometimes in basketball, the shots don't go your way, the rebound doesn't go your way, the fouls don't go your way. But if you want to have a chance in games, you better play defense. And I think we've given ourselves a great chances because we play solid defense. We want to try to hold people under 40, and that's hard to do when you're only playing 32 minutes and you're holding teams under 40. And we've done a really good job doing that. And I think the girls have bought in, and I think our coaching staff with Coach Lopez and Coach Boone have done a good job of emphasizing that. And that's sort of going to be our identity. And we're gonna play really solid defense. And if we play great offense, then we can blow teams out. But if we don't play great offense, at least we give ourselves a chance to win it down at the stretch.
And looking back at last year, a tough first season at Wylie, just what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in that year one, and what are some of the biggest areas of improvement you've seen from year one to year two?
And I think the biggest thing is it's new for girls. It's new for me of coaching at a bigger classification. And then I think what hurt us a lot was injuries early on. We had some key pieces go down, and we never really got to have our full team play a game or even practice together. And so that was tough for me, and that was tough for the girls. And then just confidence. I think the biggest thing for us as a program is just confidence. Girls and kids struggle with confidence nowadays, social media and all that, and just getting our girls to believe in themselves. We were in a lot of close games, and we had chances last year. We just couldn't get over that hump of, hey, we can win this game. Not we hope we win, but we're going to go win this game. And so I think they've started to practice like that and started to play like that. Like, hey, we're a good team. Right? We might play some good teams in our district, but we're just as good. For those 32 minutes, we want to compete.
But you lined up a challenging non-district slate. You're obviously a guy who wants to test your team before district. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think we have one of the toughest districts in the state. You got a team that got second at state last year in Lubbock Cooper, and then you got Lubbock Monterey, who has the number one player in the country, and then you got the other two Lubbock schools, High and Coronado, who are just basketball's big up there in the Panhandle, Lubbock 806 area, and then you got Abilene High and Abilene Cooper, who are trying to fight in that district with us, and so I said it earlier, there's no way to get ready for a district like that if you're playing cupcakes, you're playing people who aren't going to challenge you. And we've played some teams that are challenging us and that will make deep runs in the playoffs. But that can only benefit us. If we win the game, great, we get some confidence out of it. But if we lose, at least we're learning. Why do we lose? How do we lose? And hopefully we don't lose those type of games the same way in district because we've learned from them.
And you kind of led me into the next question about that district. It is a brutal district y'all are in. I mean, every year in that group, you're going to see some good teams miss the playoffs. Just talk about the challenge of playing in that type of district, and kind of maybe the importance of even starting, a quick start so that you can gain some confidence against that level of competition.
Right. What's good about our district, sort of good and bad, is that there's no easy teams. And so you can beat up on people. Some people might lose, so you might not think you're going to lose to them, but you better show up every Tuesday and Friday night. And so I think that's great. I think that makes practice better. I think it makes the games more enjoyable. And Hermley, I was in districts where there was teams that you got to buy on pretty much. You didn't have to show up. And so I like the challenge of that of, hey, you got to show up every night, whether it's a Lubbock Cooper, an Abilene High, Lubbock High, whoever it is, you're going to have to show up. And you're playing against great coaches. You're playing against Division I college girls. And so it's great to compete with that. And I think our girls starting to realize now that we're just as good as those teams, man. We can compete with those players. And so that's fun when you get good competition.
But you settle into to coach at your alma mater now. Talk about the experience. Is it what you expected it to be?
Yeah, yes and no. And Wylie will always be a great place, I think. I think it has been from the beginning. I think that's why people want to come work here. That's why people send their kids here. It's a great area, great community. Even though we're big school now, it still feels like small school. A lot of the same people that when I was going to school here, are still working here, are still driving buses, are still in the cafeteria, are still janitors. And so once you get here, people don't want to leave. And so it's nice to come back. But it's different. It's not the same Wylie as far as we're just going to show up and beat people. And so now I think we're in that area where we can show up and beat people, but we're going to have to work a little bit harder for it. And so that's been good to see with all of our sports programs. I mean, I think Wylie used to just dominate in everything. And now we're sort of getting back to that. We might not dominate everything, but we're going to compete, whether it's football, basketball, volleyball, whatever it is. Just go compete. We got great kids, great families, and we just want to get after it and compete.
And I got to cover you as a player at Wylie back when you were playing. You obviously played with a lot of intensity. Were a very hard worker. I know that you coach with a lot of intensity. You are coach hard, and just talk about kind of the adjustment there. Just what was that? What was that? I know that your predecessor did as well, but what was the adjustment like there in terms of getting to know the girls, them learning your coaching style, all of those sorts of things?
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing for me the last season of like, man, I got to chill out a little bit. Um, the I'm passionate and I'm competitive and I love basketball. And sometimes the girls don't want to win as bad as I do. There's nothing wrong with that. They're just kids. They need to have fun with it. And so I think sometimes I could come off as maybe mean or angry when really I'm not. I'm just passionate. I want to win, not for me, but when I was in high school and we won a lot of basketball games, and there's no better feeling than winning with your best friends. And so I want the girls to experience that. And so I'm passionate because I know they can do it. And it's just getting them to believe in it. And so I've sort of toned back and I've had many discussions with the girls that, hey, if I'm coaching you and getting on to you, that means I love you and I care about you and I want you to be good. If I stop coaching you, that's when it's bad. And so I've never had to stop coaching these girls because they want to be good. They want to compete and get after it. They just got to understand my coaching style, which they have.
And you mentioned Hermley. Obviously, you had a ton of success there. They've continued to have success. A lot of those girls that you coached as young girls have continued to lead that program. What's it been like watching that from the outside now, and kind of how much communication do you kind of keep with some of those that you coached before?
And I try to keep up with them as much as I can and watch a game if they're playing around the area and we're off. But man, I wish nothing but the best for Hermley. It's a neat little place. Right? I call it the diamond in the rough, and it's a rough drive over there to Lubbock. But man, if you pull off in that one little Allsups and Hermley, man, there's some special people there, some great kids, and then I think success has breeded success, and I think they won a state championship in softball. Football's rolling, boys basketball went to the regional tournament, girls basketball's rolling, academics, all of that. I think if you can just get a little spark of people believing in each other, and it can take over a school and community, right? And that's what's happening in Hermley.
I might hold the burrito purchase record there at that Allsips that you're talking about. Been
They're
through there
different
many
there.
times. Coach, last question. We're gonna just kind of have fun with this one. We're gonna make you king for a day, and
All
you
right.
can make any change in high school basketball that you want.
Oh
Kind of a
man,
tough question,
this is a
maybe.
controversy. I'm sure this is. I would
What?
want a shot clock in girls basketball.
Really?
And yeah, I think it would. And I think it would help the game strategize, and I think you could do a lot more stuff with it. Um, I think it would make the games a little more. I think you would see a lot more close games. Um, and so that's what I would pick. And I know it's contra and how you would do it and all that, but and it would be great to have 24-second shot clock for girls basketball.
And
Wow,
I'll throw
NBA shot clock.
24.
Uh,
Okay, I'll throw one more
NBA.
at you. I'll throw one more at you before we let you go. There have been some rule changes to the college game with the block charge rules to allow for maybe more freedom of movement. Do you like that? I know the girls' game can get pretty physical. Do you like the new block charge rules? What's your take on that?
and I think it's I don't really like those rules because it's left up to the refs' discretion pretty much. There's no like set in stone like freedom of movement, guarding position. Those are so vague, and one ref might think, "Hey, if I'm sliding but I'm still in front of you, that's a guarding position."
Gotcha.
Well, other refs say you better be standing still to be in a guarding position, and so I say let them play a little bit. If it's a foul, it's a foul. Call it. There should be a no brainer. If it's sort of ticky tacky, let them play through it.
Gotcha.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be keeping an eye on you. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And that was Wylie girls basketball coach Duane Hopper. And tell you what, one thing that's nice about Coach Hopper, we were talking about it a little bit with him. It's nice to see what he built at Hermleigh, the tradition that he built. And he built a tradition there
Mhm.
of winning. It has continued. They're continuing to win. They're continuing to put out a good product, and he's the guy that set the framework for that.
Yeah, and I mentioned in talking with him that obviously I covered him when he was at Wylie, so I have trouble calling him coach. All the kids I covered, I have trouble calling coach. I always still call him by the name that I called him when I was covering him. But he's done a remarkable job, and I've mentioned on past podcasts we've had with him. He was one of my favorite kids that I've ever covered because while a talented player, you can't go play college ball without having talent. He was such a hard worker, such a blue collar player, did all the dirty work and really, made himself a really good basketball player. And you see that in his coaching. So I could not be less surprised to see a guy be successful in the coaching profession than I am with Duane because I saw him as a player. So, but you're right. He did a great job at Hermleigh, and you're starting to see some of those gains being made at Wylie. Last year was a rough first year for him. With a young team and not a whole lot of returners from the previous year. This year they've got a couple of returners from that group, got some new talent joining that group, and they're starting to make progress. You look what they've done. I mean, a 2-point loss to what we know is a very, very good Jim Ned team. A close loss to a really good Wall team, a close loss to Lubbock Estacado, and then some really nice wins along the way. They just beat Central in overtime, and they're starting to turn some of those games that early in the season were close losses into close wins now. And you can just see that improvement being made. And I just expect that program to do nothing but continue to improve under him because he's just a really good coach. And it's always fun to get him on. I really enjoy talking to him every time we get a chance to.
With that, it's about time to wrap up the Big Country Preps Wednesday night podcast. But before we do that, we want to remind you we've got 3 separate subscription packages here at Big Country Preps. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription for $4 a month, and then we've got an annual 12-month subscription where you knock that price down to $3 a month. That's $36 for a full year of Big Country High School athletic coverage.
We'd also like to remind you that if you ever see a photo you like in any one of our galleries, those are available for purchase. We have photo downloads available for $7, as well as some keepsakes and prints. So make sure you check those out. As you scroll through the site, you'll notice pretty quickly that we take a lot of photos from these games we are at. And then we try to cover a whole lot of events over the course of the school year. That's something we really enjoy doing and something we're very proud of here at bigcountrypreps.com.
All Big Country, all high school, all the time. Welcome home.